Merhaba, Shalom, and welcome to the exciting podcast Israel and Palestine Unpacked that is dedicated to exploring the complexities of the ongoing political situation between Palestinians and Israelis. Throughout the course of this podcast, it is my hope that we can delve into the historical and contemporary events and ideas that have shaped the course of this long-standing geopolitical and humanitarian crisis, as well as explore the ongoing and unresolved issues, while remembering the human cost, experience, and perspective. The situation has been brought into sharp focus nationally and internationally by recent events that have dominated our screens as well as our thoughts. The aim here is to be sensitive, as I understand that emotions are easily triggered. It is important to note that the topic will be approached from an academic position to unpack and understand the issues, and that all views expressed will be and are the views of the interviewees alone. Today we are speaking with Uri, who is currently working in academia. He's a Postdoctoral Research Fellow and lecturer at Heidelberg University, with a PhD in Middle East history from Tel Aviv University. His academic research spans the modern Turkic world, focusing on topics such as Turkish political Islam, nation building in post-Soviet Azerbaijan, and Jewish-Muslim relations in Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Israel. But in this episode, I am more interested in Uri's activism and hands-on experience in Israeli-Palestinian dialogue. Uri is the co-founder and the former co-CEO of Tech2Peace, an NGO that fosters Israeli-Palestinian dialogue through intensive technological and entrepreneurship seminars. When managing Tech2Peace, he was mainly focused on the content, such as the design of the workshops and the creation of the alumni community. Currently, Tech2Peace has approximately 700 Israelis and Palestinians, which has helped to create a vibrant and active alumni community, even in these difficult times of war. I do hope that you find this episode of Israel and Palestine Unpacked informative, and if you would like to receive more content, you are welcome to subscribe and join us as we journey to gain insightful perspectives and knowledge together. In this interview, Uri and I speak about Tech2Peace. The discussion centres on some of the successes and challenges faced by the NGO and how Tech2Peace has been received generally by both everyday Israelis and Palestinians within society at large. We then explore the topic of integration before talking about the NGO's hopes for the future. However, before we delve into these areas, Uri shares a little about what Tech2Peace is and the inspiration behind starting it.
Tech2Peace is an NGO and a community of Israelis and Palestinians, young Israelis and Palestinians, that I co-founded along with another Palestinian and another Israeli. So we were three co-founders. And the idea is to bring young Israelis and Palestinians together to meet, to get to know each other politically, not just personally, but also politically, with all the luggage that we're carrying. So do very, very serious dialogue on one hand, and really understand and empathize and try to understand each other, put ourselves in each other's shoes. That's on one hand. On the other hand, we also provide people with tech and entrepreneurship trainings and a community that helps them in the beginning of their career, especially if they want to be entrepreneurs or tech people or anything. If they want to be successful in life, it's always good to have a community behind you, a network and stuff like that. So Tech2Peace is, I think, the only Israeli-Palestinian community of professionals, of young professionals, that also does a dialogue and does very much political work, does not ignore it. So this is kind of, we try to have both that element and this, and not to forget neither the entrepreneurship and tech nor the conflict, which is very hard.
Where do the majority of those entrepreneurs who are in the early stages of their career come from?
So Tech2Peace has a 50% Israelis and 50% Palestinians. We try also to keep a man-woman balance, like female males. And we try also to bring people, because there's a lot of interest in our program, we try to give a bit of a priority to people in the periphery. So that means Jews and Palestinians, which are not very well off, which do not have all this network by themselves. If it's people from refugee camps, we will give them priority, okay? If it's somebody from a very poor town in Israel, from a migrant background, we will give him or her priority, even if they're not as good as another person from a rich family, because we do want the people to get a head start. And this community that we have has a lot of benefits, and we want to give it to people that really can use it. So they come from all over the place. They come from Israel, from the West Bank, from East Jerusalem, from Palestinian villages inside Israel. So it's Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians, from everywhere between the river and the sea, except for Gaza, which unfortunately right now is off limits. But inshallah, in the future, we'll also have Gazans.
Let's think about some of the challenges, as well as some of the positive impacts that Tech2Peace has had. What are some of the issues that you actually face, and what are some of the success stories?
First of all, bringing Israelis and Palestinians together is very hard. Okay, even a normal thing. Even if you ignore the conflict, and we don't ignore, it's very hard because people don't like each other, to say the least. Okay, take Belfast in the 80s, it's the same, maybe even worse. Okay, so we're talking about a very problematic two group of people. They're wonderful as their own, but they don't know each other. So we're starting, and because we try to target people who in the mainstream, this is something I forgot to tell you, we don't take the people who are already lefty and liberal and progressive. We want to take people who are maybe not fascists, but people who are very nationalists. So we take people that would otherwise be spoilers of peace, people who are, or at least not interested in peace. And because of the tech, people say, wow, okay, I'm willing to work with Israelis. I'm willing. And it's only the beginning is only a 2-week seminar. So people say, okay, I'll commit for 2 weeks. I'll see how it's like. I'll meet people from Google, Microsoft. I'll meet Palestinians. I'll meet Israelis. They give it a chance. The challenge is, because we bring mainstream people, they have mainstream views, and mainstream views in any conflict zone, but especially Israel and Palestine, is are very polarized. Like, one person thinks it's light outside, the other person thinks it's dark. One person thinks it's winter, the other person thinks it's summer. Like, there's no correlation between each other think, and you have to bring them together to talk about the most difficult issues within these 2 weeks of the preliminary seminar. So imagine 2 weeks, people are living together before they become a community, and each one goes to their own, and they can decide if they want to continue or not. But these 2 weeks are very intensive, and people talk about very hard issues. And tech solves it, because after a long 3-hour dialogue that they do, and it kind of this afterwards, they go and program together and decode and debug and stuff like that, and do some entrepreneurship. So it sometimes solves, but it doesn't solve everything, because in the end, the issues are very hard, and we put them on the table, and we even poke them. I'm a dialogue facilitator also, and we do our best to poke people, not from day 1, but from day 3, 4, to push them to talk about the most sensitive of subjects, of course, in a safe way. But you can imagine that makes a lot of, it brings back a lot of traumas, fears, anger, people cry, there's so many issues. I can't tell you, the difficulties are crazy. And now I can say special difficulty happened since October. October 7th was, probably your listeners know, the biggest massacre inside Israel. And after that started probably the biggest war between the Israelis and Palestinians. So now in Gaza, some of our Palestinian people have relatives there. So you can imagine being a community when your friends from the other side that are alumni with you support bombing your family, or the opposite. When the Israelis hear from the Palestinians, yeah, what happened in October 7th was okay, it's part of our struggle. So it's not easy to keep a community now, because we're not just a 2-week seminar, we're a community. And to keep a community in times of war, times of bloodshed, it's very, very challenging. Like, I can't explain how much. We're doing a lot of work to keep the whole community together, and to get people to keep hopeful, to keep dialogue, to keep talking. But I have to admit that it's not 100% success. I think the war will end, and we have now 650 alumni. I don't know if all of them will stay in the community. Some people will just say, it's too much for me. I want to be with my side. They want to go tribal. It's totally normal. Wartime brings the worst out of people, and our community is not immune to that.
In terms of society in general, of Israelis and Palestinians, both inside Israel and inside the West Bank, what kind of a reception have they given Tech2Peace? How do they view it?
So it depends. It depends which portion of Israeli and Palestinian society. So I think inside Israel, within the Jewish population, Some people really like it, and some people say, you're naive, you're stupid, you're just wasting time. There's nothing to talk with these people. Especially since October, we hear more of these voices of these people just want to kill us. Why do you want to work with them? Why do you want to create a business with them? Why would anyone want to spend even 2 weeks of their life? So we hear a lot of cynicism and a lot of kind of like, you're wasting your time. In Palestine, they have other problems. Our Palestinian alumni and participants share that sometimes it's very hard for them even to tell their parents or their family that they're going to work with Israelis, because there's a lot of anti-normalization. So people are really afraid of telling, normalization means to make the conflict normal and not to fight. Like Palestinians are allowed to resist Israelis, and to resist with Israelis, but not to do something together. So the whole idea of to integrate them to a community and to build something together and to look at peace as far ahead, a goal, this is something that in Palestine, sometimes some people do not like. And for them, these people can be traitors. So some Palestinians are really afraid of their friends, their peers, and they kind of share things very kind of quietly to only the people they trust. So yeah, it's not easy, but we do have word of mouth, and a lot of Palestinians come from their friends and networks and stuff like that, and also Israelis. So people do hear good things about us. And I think the success is that people bring their friends and their families, and the community grows a lot through that word of mouth.
I lived in Jerusalem for 4 years, and I spent most of my time living in Arab East Jerusalem. One of the things that struck me about the city, and like coming from Belfast, I know that we're far from perfect here, but integration is a model that we try to really promote and to try and gradually normalize, in a sense, within society. When I lived in Jerusalem, I noticed that there were two different bus systems. So you had on the Israeli side of the city, you had the Egged buses, the green ones, and the red ones going up and down Jaffa Street and King David Street and so on and so forth. But on the Arab side of Jerusalem, you had the blue and white buses that serviced a lot of the Palestinian areas within East Jerusalem, as well as Ramallah, Bethlehem, Hebron, and so on and so forth. For me personally, I understand that the idea of integration is not something that you'll wake up tomorrow morning, but this is something that takes an awful lot of time to be able to get to a point where people feel confident to engage with one another. Within the number of years that you've actually functioned, can you talk even just about some of the success stories that Tech2Peace has brought about, like where integration on a very small level, one-to-one or in small groups, has occurred?
Absolutely. So first of all, you're right that Jerusalem is especially a difficult and divided city. By the way, both sides, I think in Belfast it was like that too. Both sides want this division. So, in a strange way, neither of the sides wants to live too close to each other. So there are some Israeli cities which are better. I would say Tel Aviv and Jaffa are better. Haifa is much better. It's not perfect, but so there are cities in which Palestinians and Jews live more comfortably with each other as neighbors and more integrated. But even Haifa, which is a really good case, even that has a lot of problems. I'm from Haifa myself. About Tech2Peace. In Tech2Peace, we're trying to build a utopic world in which the young people don't forget that they are living in a divided society, and in where there is injustice and there is a problems and there are occupation. We don't forget these issues, but we also don't let them. We try not to let them overtake us and overshadow our friendships and the things we build. Because after 2 weeks, Israelis and Palestinians usually come out of Tech2Peace with tears in their eyes, and they just want to keep in touch and want to change the world. Now, unfortunately, they hit reality when they come back home and all their friends are not, and they see that things are harder, but still we want to keep the hope alive. So Tech2Peace community, the alumni program after, which is the kind of a lifelong thing where people can stay for years if they want, and some people stay for years. So that's our biggest pride, because the alumni community meets even during the darkest times. Now, yesterday there was a meetup in Jerusalem of people from East and West Jerusalem, just at somebody's house. And we do weekends together of 30, 40 people together, Israelis and Palestinians. We do hackathons. We do so many events that people come and sign up to. And for example, just a small thing, every seminar has a weekend in the middle. Okay, 2-week seminar, in the middle there is a weekend. And we call alumni to come to meet the new people and to spend the weekend with them. Sometimes, 50 alumni sign up, and we have only 30 beds. So imagine a group of 30 people, participants, 10 staff, and then 30 alumni coming. You can make the math. A weekend of this many people, Israelis and Palestinians, talking together, meeting, and just having a chill weekend together, not even talking too much about politics. That's one of our success stories. But also, if I can say, we also deal with tech and entrepreneurship. So part of our success is getting people to work together, to open a company together, to try to open a startup together. We still don't have two millionaires that opened a startup and this, but we're getting there. There are already Israelis and Palestinians that are working together to either one is employing the other, or the best if it's equal, if it's one company shared by both, and we try to encourage them to do that, along with another partner of us called 50/50 Startups. You can Google them, and they try to incubate them, to take our alumni that want and push them together to dream of opening companies together, and they do it. Again, still no success story in terms of millionaires, so nobody got an exit yet. But there are companies that are successful and sustainable, and they're already getting their second round of investment, and they have a product. And we're talking about companies that are 50% Israeli, 50% Palestinian. Our alumni, I can't be more proud than when you see a company like that. It's a drop in the ocean, and it's just 2 people or 3 people, but still it makes me really proud, because this is economic integration. This is people working for each other, being friends with each other, and caring about each other's and working together. It's like the best you can have.
Perfect. So you mentioned 50/50 startups, for example. Tell me about some of your other partners, maybe international, local, that you've linked up with. How have they helped you to make a difference?
Okay, so first we have partners which are kind of more funders, and we have especially embassies. And this, so for example, the UK embassy is very, very helpful in the last years, and also the American embassy, now USAID. So these are really big partners that give. Also Netherlands embassy, and now a German foundation. So these are big names that also not only provide us money, but also connections, and they bring they bring speakers and stuff like that. So people from embassy, and it gives this kind of neutrality to Tech2Peace. When Palestinians or Israelis see that it's the Netherlands embassy, nobody hates the Netherlands. So they say, okay, this is kind of halal, this is kosher, this I can go to that. Other partners that we have don't give us money, but they give us their name and they give us their staff. For example, Google for Startups is an amazing partner that every hackathon we have, every seminar we have 1 day of hackathon. So they bring half of the mentors, they run the hackathon, and Israelis and Palestinians are working together in teams. They forget that they're Israelis and Palestinians for 1 day, and they just try to compete with each other and make a mock startup. And Google people take a whole day off, unpaid, and Google pays them. And they come to us, and they spend the time with the alumni, and they afterwards, the employees of Google and other partners we have, they stay in touch with them on LinkedIn and help them write their CVs and open their doors. Like 2 of our alumni already got into the Google program thanks to this. We have Microsoft as a partner. We have a lovely Swiss NGO foundation called B8 of Hope, and we have some tech companies, and it's amazing. University, now UCL in London wants to be our partner, and we're writing an MOU. And if we go to UCL, this is a great place to bring people and to also link them with also British Jews, British Muslims, which will be amazing. We have Irish partners. Gary Mason from Northern Ireland is a lovely partner. He brought groups from Tech2Peace to Northern Ireland to see the conflict and to see Protestants and Catholics and to compare it. So many partners, I can't even start. The whole podcast will be just about partners. Without these partners, we would do nothing. I'm not kidding, because it's not just the money, it's the love that they have and the care and how much they want to help our community grow. I'm very touched when I get these kind of partnerships, and the more the better.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So finally, Uri, what are some of your hopes for the future of the NGO, and how do you envisage, even in a small way, its impact on Palestinian and Israeli relations?
So I'm imagining, like, right now, all my alumni, we're only 6 years old, our NGO. So our alumni are early 30s, that's as old as they get. So they're opening companies. Some of them are already successful. But I'm imagining when they'll be 40, 45, my age, or 50. And then these will be successful people. Right now, they're opening a startup. One day they'll be millionaires. or they'll be CEOs of companies, they'll be politicians, maybe one of them will be prime minister or at least a minister or a mayor. These people already connected with each other will shape the world. Imagine two mayors from Tech2Peace doing a collaboration together, one in the West Bank, one in Israel, and kind of exchanging students or doing something. I'm imagining partnerships. I'm imagining people that are running for offices and having such a great experience with Palestinians. So these people could change Israel and Palestine. All we need is to put these people in power, in positions of power, and they'll put themselves. They don't need us. These are very talented people. And if only 5% of them or even 2% of them will be super successful, as I imagine, we can change Israel and Palestine, because these are people who really changed a lot. They're not just peacemakers. They're still Israelis and Palestinians. They're still nationalists, but something changed within them, and they don't look at the reality the same as their people who were not in Tech2Peace. They see the other side, they humanize him, and once they reach power, they will hire each other, they will work with each other, and if they can, they will bring peace. I'm not kidding. I really believe in that.
At this point, we would like to thank Uri for taking the time to chat today with us here at Israel and Palestine Unpacked. His thoughtful insights into Israeli-Palestinian dialogue, fostered through intensive technological and entrepreneurship seminars, have brought real depth to our conversation by providing a platform where Israelis and Palestinians collaborate on practical projects. Uri's initiatives go beyond rhetoric, cultivating genuine relationships and mutual understanding. These efforts bridge divides by bringing together individuals from diverse socioeconomic, cultural and political backgrounds, enabling meaningful integration that fosters shared goals and aspirations for a more unified future. Before I forget, I would like to remind you that in the new year, we are embarking upon a new project, which will focus on the city of Jerusalem. I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts on this project, and any suggestions you might have for themes, stories, or specific angles that could enrich our coverage, whether it's particular historical events, underrepresented voices, or key areas of dialogue you think we should highlight. Your input would be invaluable as we shape this new initiative. In the next episode, we are going to return to our original format, where we will be interviewing two guests. Firstly, we will speak to Daniel, an Israeli from Jerusalem. Then afterwards we will chat with Musa, a native of Ramallah. Both places are geographically close to one another, and it is possible to view each other from certain parts of each city, yet in terms of culture, politics and society are a world apart. Until then, what's left to say is thank you for joining us, and if you have any feedback or comments, feel free to share your perspective by getting in touch via email at israelpalestineunpacked, all one word, @gmail.com. or alternatively via our Facebook page. All contact information can be found below in the description. I hope that you'll join me next time on Israel and Palestine Unpacked.